Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined on this Tuesday morning by Andrew Erickson and Chris Welsh. Fellas, it's our predictions show. Before we jump in, we are now into week 15, which means for pretty much every league, it is now the fantasy playoffs. We talked a little bit about how we were shaping up last week. Officially, Erickson, how many teams did you make the fantasy playoffs with?
I don't know yet. I'll check when I do my waivers and see which ones I can actually add players in or players not. Again, because I'm so many leagues, so many teams, I try not to sweat a lot of these because inevitably it's out of my control to an extent. So when I log in to all my leagues, I do my waiver runs. I will know. I do know I'm in a couple spots, and probably the league I care about the most is a CBS league that I'm with a buddy from college and a bunch of his dad's friends, and I don't think many of them know I am a fantasy analyst, but they always just like steamroll me, and I was dead in this league until Puka Nacua came back. And then I just went on a streak of just ripping off win after win after win. So now I'm the third seed somehow, some way. So I know that team I'm in, and I'm looking forward to hopefully making a run in that league. And then I'm probably going to leave the league after that because I can't do it anymore. I just need to win, and then I'm going to walk off into the sunset.
That's the way to do it. Welsh, how about you?
I mean, I don't know the number. The important ones, I did lose in my big FFPC, but the other one I'm in the championship round. So I've got a championship round FFPC. I got an advancement in the DraftKings Millie Maker. Those were two of the big important ones. Our big Fantasy Pros Giant League, I got the bye. Me and Terrell were 1 and 2 in ours. Pretty good. I think it was about, I did a lot of leagues this year. I want to say 65, 70% playoff hit rate. Cash rate is really important. And I do this industry league called the Pentathlon where we do 5 events, and it's best ball, super flex, Derek Van Riper from The Athletic runs it. And Bogman and I have a shared team, and we are in first place over quite a few amazing industry people, including Pat Fitzmaurice, who we are currently beating right now. So it's a good time.
You guys I get kind of the week to week, you lose track and you don't know every single week. Oh, how many teams did you win with? How many teams did you lose? But when you're talking about playoff time, I'm locked in and I'm like, okay, how many did I make it in? How many of the ones I didn't make it in was I okay with? For example, if I was tanking with a dynasty team, I'm not going to count that against myself. But
how many did you play in?
I was in this year. I took a step back. I was in about, I think 14 leagues, maybe something like that.
Okay. Well, that is a lot. I thought you were going to say 4, and I was going to be like, all right.
No.
Yeah.
I made the playoffs in I think 9 of them was the number when I counted yesterday.
Flex.
Yeah.
Well, you need to change your shirt because you just flexed out of that.
Did you have to cut your hair because you've been?
I didn't consider that much of a flex.
I'm at a 14. That's pretty good.
But the thing is, I barely snuck into the playoffs in a lot of them. It was a lot of
you just got to get to the dance, man.
Just happened to make it. Yeah, that's true. Let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Football before we dive into our predictions. Kind of played out, maybe to an extreme version, but the way we expected. You don't really go in saying, oh, Jamar Chase is going to have 170 yards and 2 touchdowns, but you expect him to have a big day. Chase Brown did very well as well. Over 100 yards from scrimmage. He had a receiving touchdown. Rico Dowdle continues to just really this is his backfield 100%. 18 carries, 131 yards. CeeDee Lamb did his usual self with the backup quarterback. I think every single week it's been something like 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. I feel like I've read that stat line a couple of times in recent weeks for him. Erickson, did anything stand out to you from a fantasy perspective from this game, or was it just kind of the stars were stars and we were happy about it?
Yeah, I mean, game scored a decent amount of points. I don't know if the over hit in the game, but it was still a decent chunk with the 27-20, I believe was the final score. So at 47 points, so you like that. The running backs hit that we were starting, Rico Dowdle, Chase Brown. I mean, the only disappointment was really T. Higgins, and it's just because it was just the Jamar Chase show. And Higgins had a couple opportunities in the red zone, just didn't convert. But Higgins has been so good on a points per game basis this year. I think that he'll probably bounce back. I mean, Joe Burrow's cooking. CeeDee Lamb finding the end zone, that really helps him boost his stock because we know it's a lot of low average depth of target. And we saw Jake Ferguson come back. He had 6 targets. So again, a PPR merchant at the tight end position. So wasn't sure what his role would be coming back from his concussion, but he kind of took back his full-time role. So yeah, kind of what to be expected, but I would expect Higgins to bounce back.
Any takeaways for you, Welsh?
Yeah, same thing. Ironically, CeeDee Lamb was plus 1,200 for first touchdown last night. I don't remember the last time we've seen that. It was very chalky betting angle. I ended up live betting the Bengals after the Cowboys scored that first touchdown, and that ended up cashing. But yeah, I mean, everybody played out every sim game parlay that got tweeted out. Everybody knew that Jamar Chase was going to completely go off by all the bets. But yeah, I mean, I think Gesicki continues to prove to be like, some form of a streamy tight end. Ferguson back kind of flows in that as well. But everything we expected out of this game, no crazy injuries, no us, beating ourselves over the head, being like, oh my gosh, Rico Dowdle went down and we got to, pick up Elliott and should we start him? Just all chalk.
Let's take a look at how we did with our Week 14 predictions, which was the first iteration of the 2024 version of this show, where we'll go through 5 predictions each on Tuesdays, rather than like we did last week, focusing on trade stuff. Welsh did better than Erickson. For Erickson, he did hit 2 of his picks. He completely nailed Packers-Lions as a shootout, and Montgomery and Gibbs both scoring touchdowns. He also got last night Chase Brown 90-plus scrimmage yards. He did not quite hit on the Cousins revenge game. He did get 300 yards. He did not get the passing touchdowns. He also did not get the win. He also did not get the Kyle Pitts breakout game, obviously. So he's a braver man than I for even picking that. Alvin Kamara did not reach 100-plus scrimmage yards. The Bears did not cover the spread against San Francisco, though Garendo did top 60 rushing yards like he predicted. Welsh, you were 1 catch away from being exactly correct on Jauan Johnson. You were essentially correct. We're counting it as a win. You also nailed your Jauan Jennings big game prediction. Justin Jefferson showing up in a huge way for the first time in several weeks, and Tyrone Tracy scoring a touchdown. I don't think Tracy actually landed in the top 10 running backs for the week because he was 10 going into the week, going into Monday night, and then Chase Brown had a big day, and so did Rico Dowdle. So I think you might have fallen short on that, but essentially you were kind of correct on that one. On the other hand, Calvin Ridley and Will Levis did not have their big game that pretty much everybody expected against the Jags. All right, guys, let's see if we can do even better here in Week 15. Erickson, we'll start with you. What is your prediction number 5?
I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win, but they're going to not cover the spread because they don't do that anymore. All they do is win close games. You have a spread, I believe it's like 6.5 or 7 points against the Cleveland Browns. James Winston's going to be slinging the ball, so we know that, yeah, they're going to end up covering the spread. The Chiefs are going to end up winning in another close game somehow, some way. And my prop that I'm kind of tying into this, because ultimately the Chiefs will pull out the W, Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to finally catch a long touchdown, because I don't know the last time he's actually done this at any point during the season, because we haven't seen really any explosiveness from this Chiefs offense seemingly all year long. But if it's ever going to come at any point as they try to build some momentum heading into the postseason, it would come against the Cleveland Browns, because the Cleveland Browns are just this team that it loves to give up big plays to opposing passing games. They have coverage breakdowns all the time. You have it's Denzel Ward's really their main corner, but then the other guys are giving up massive plays. So if you see Ward on Hopkins, I think you could get Worthy in space a lot. The Browns secondary ranked 2nd in deep passes space this season. And Worthy, even though he hasn't had like a big game over the last month, he's actually been pretty productive. He has 4 catches in 4 straight games. He's gone over 40 receiving yards in 4 straight games. He actually leads the Chiefs in receiving yards since week 11. So he's quietly getting it done. Again, it hasn't come in these flashy big moments, but I think in this spot, we could see Xavier Worthy kind of have a maybe rookie breakout game, similar to what we saw back in week 1. We got really excited about him scoring touchdowns. So I like Xavier Worthy here. I think he's going to catch a long touchdown. Chiefs are going to win, and then James Winston is going to crawl his way back to cover the spread in the end.
Did you say you thought the spread was like 6 or 7? Is that what you said?
I think so, something like that, right? Is it more
so
than that?
I'm seeing it lower. I'm seeing it at 4.
Jeez.
So does that
everyone's fading the Chiefs?
Yeah, I thought I saw it at 7.5 yesterday.
I'm looking right now on DraftKings. It says Chiefs -4. So I don't know if that changed or what, but that's what it's showing on bettingpros.com. We've got a thing you can kind of check odds across a whole bunch of different books. We care most about DraftKings Sportsbook, and they're -4 is what I'm seeing right now. So
you still like that cover?
Probably because the Chiefs, the Chiefs are just going to cheat. 3-10 team.
It's a good question, and yet I still am like, yeah, I don't see them covering because they just don't cover anything anymore for the Chiefs
They just don't
side.
care.
What do you think, Welsh? Do you like the cover at 4?
I do not. I will take Kansas. I like it as much as Erickson liked the Bears last week covering against the 49ers. No chance. I'm going to go with Kansas City. Kansas City, I mean, I know like Kansas City doesn't cover, like, sure. But the Browns are still also kind of messy. And it's like offensively, they're going to just absolutely slang the ball. But, if anything, you might say the advantage for the Chiefs right now is their defense more than their offense. Their offense is more inconsistent. Travis Kelce looks like he's carrying around a couple bricks on his ankles. So I have more faith and trust in Kansas City's defense than I do their offense. And that's what the Browns are going to hold on to for cover. So I'm not sure I feel adamant, if we're being honest, like if I'm going to lay down a bet Kansas City, but this is a pretty low number for a Browns team that Kansas City is playing. And I don't think the Browns are that particularly good. Nick Chubb does not look good. They don't have an established running game. It's just all slinging the ball to Jerry Jeudy and Eli Moore. So I'll take Kansas City on the cover, but I get the logic of this. And I like the Xavier Worthy, though. I like that play. I don't like the cover. I love the Xavier Worthy play here.
Well, so let's stick with you for your number 5 prediction.
All right, I'm this is kind of low on the totem pole here, but I'm going to go back to Kendre Miller from last week, who had double-digit touches, and I'm going to say we're going to do it again, and we're also going to score a touchdown again. Kendre Miller, double-digit touchdowns with double-digit touches with a touchdown. That is going to make him a flex play this week, and I like the matchup in general. He had just a 26% snap percentage last week, which is not like the best, but of 18 snaps, 10 touches out of that. They also like him in the receiving game. Washington is giving up 5 yards per carry so far on the year, which is ridiculous. They've given up 15 total touchdowns to running backs, but they've given up 6 in the last 4 games, including a receiving touchdown in 3 of the last 4. And I think one of the things you're seeing is this team has absolutely no playmakers. They don't even have a quarterback anymore. So if you're going to, whichever quarterback they're going to put back there, it's going to be low leverage stuff. So obviously Kamara's in play, but we saw that kind of blow up in our face. I was with Erickson last week. I thought it was going to be 472 touches to Kamara. Just every play, it's just like Wildcats. He's throwing himself the ball. You see that meme where the guy just like, that was Kamara. Didn't happen. They were taking him off of the field in some important situations. So I think they're going to lean on Kendre Miller more as the season goes on. This is a good matchup from a touchdown perspective. They're using him on both sides of the field. I think Kendre Miller, even though it's not by apocalypse and the justification to get him in like what truly is a flex is a little bit tougher, I think he's going to score a touchdown. He will get double-digit touches again, and he's going to continue to be valuable through the end of the year.
What do you think, Erickson? Miller had 10 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown last week. I'm looking here at the early ECR, and it's Tuesday morning, so this is going to change. Yeah, right now he's RB 49 in the very early ECR for week 15. What do you think about Kendre Miller this week?
I don't want part of the Saints offense. If it's Jake Haener, if it's Spencer Rattler. We saw this offense play out, and the only time they were ever good was when they played the Bucs.
I love it.
It was like the worst defense in the NFL. So I think that the Commanders are going to steamroll the New Orleans Saints. So I mean, Kendre Miller last week was playing the Giants. Like I feel like last week was the time to get in on Kendre Miller. So I'm not as optimistic as Welsh is on the Saints this week.
All right, let's stick with you, Erickson, for your number 4 prediction.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they're going to cover because this is a spot where Baker Mayfield historically is really good when he's an underdog. He's really good when he's on the road. And those things are both true here in this matchup in week 15. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I think the Buccaneers, maybe they don't win, but I think it's a little bit more back and forth. And for that reason, I think that we might see a little bit more of Kimani Vidal for the Los Angeles Chargers. So my prop prediction is that he leads the Chargers in rushing yards and he scores a touchdown. So with him in his usage last week, so he actually led the backfield in snaps over Gus Edwards, 53% to 43%. First half, it was Edwards, 4 carries, Vidal with just 1. But in the second half, they used Vidal more. He had 7 carries to Edwards, 6. So in a game where maybe the Chargers are trailing at some point, I think maybe we see a little bit more of Vidal. The Chargers are kind of running out of weapons, right? Will Dissly was someone that stepped up, and then he got hurt. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. We still know Ladd is dealing with an injury. QJ and Josh Palmer seem like the two most like unreliable wide receivers on a week-to-week basis. Like Justin Herbert throws it up and it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. And I know Palmer played pretty well and Herbert missed him on a long touchdown. So maybe he steps up, but a lot of inconsistency. So they need someone else to step up in this offense to create some plays to keep up with Tampa Bay's like high-powered offense. So I think Vidal is an interesting play. He's gotten some red zone usage before, not to the extent of Gus Edwards, but if it's like a 3rd and long, we've seen him used a little more in the screen game than Gus Edwards. So I think Vidal is kind of interesting. And if I had to pick Vidal versus Kendre Miller, I would go with Vidal over Miller if it was going like a head-to-head with some of these more fringy running backs in week 15. And I will say too, I don't know if you guys caught this on the broadcast, but they said, I don't know if it was Chris Collinsworth or Mike Tirico, but they made it pretty clear that J.K. Dobbins wants to come back in week 17. So they're playing the Patriots that week. That is a great matchup for running back. So if J.K. Dobbins got dropped in your league, pick him up because you might be able to use him in week 17 if he comes back. Because again, I haven't seen anything from this Chargers backfield that suggests they wouldn't go back to Dobbins in a potential must-win game against a really bad Patriots defense. So that's something to keep in mind. I've seen Dobbins hit the waiver wire in a lot of leagues because people think he's done. No, he's not. He's going to come back, or at least he's trying to come back in week 17. So something else to keep in mind as we look at this Chargers backfield rest of the season.
I haven't really dropped Dobbins, but it's more just I haven't needed the spot. At this point, your team kind of is what it is. I didn't realize that he was expecting to be back by 7.
Yeah, because it was just the 4-week IR, so he only has to miss 4 games.
That's a good note for sure. Yeah, I mean, you say Erickson, like you think Vidal will lead the team in rushing this week. What is the ceiling for the leading rusher on this team? Like without Dobbins, it just hasn't been that high.
That was going to be my point. Like, I don't think this is a super tricky one here. He could have 31 yards and be the leader. The score is the thing to hold him to hold his feet to the fire, not the yards.
Erickson, what number would you put on Vidal to lead in rushing?
I mean, he'll probably lead if he gets like 30 yards.
31, yeah. Welsh, you kind of made your point about the rushing. Do you like the idea of him as a touchdown scorer?
No, not really. I mean, like, could he? Yeah, out of the receiving side. But if they get inside the 5, it's going to Gus Edwards. That's what they're going to do. That's what he's built for. So I think he could absolutely lead in yards. If he scores a touchdown, that's the play here where this works out. I don't like him as better odds than Gus Edwards because, again, if they're going to use Vidal in higher like leverage, through drive situations, Gus Edwards is literally built there for short yardage stuff. So Vidal is going to have to do it off of a breakaway play or a receiving touchdown, which if Ladd is active, he's the number 1 read. So I don't love the touchdown call. I think he could be in flexi range, but I'll go back and I will take Kendre Miller over Vidal. I mean, obviously he's my guy too. So, but the touchdown is going to be the key for this one being correct.
Let's see where Vidal is. Right, yeah, he's RB 44 in early ECR.
Yeah, so they're like right next to each other.
Yeah, a few spots ahead of Miller, but essentially the same range when you get down that low. I want to let everybody know the NBA season is rolling along. Playing Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official partner of the NBA, is a way to get even more into the action following your favorite players. It's super simple to get started. First, download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, then select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like points, rebounds, 3-pointers, and more. Track your picks for a shot at huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. And for all first-time Pick 6 players, check this out. New customers play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. The fun of the NBA season continues with the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Pick 6 from DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Welsh, what is your number 4 prediction?
All right, I'm going to go to, I didn't think I was going to do this one, but Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is speaking to me in the game of which team should move to London, the Jags or the Jets. Who should we no longer have here? That is 100% how I see this game. It is fantasy relevant. It is not watchable. This is the relegated match. But Brian Thomas is going to catch a 50-plus yard touchdown against the Jets and have a nice solid day. But the big play touchdown is what I'm going to go with here. Brian Thomas has had a long reception of 24 or higher for 3 straight weeks, which, by the way, might be into the betting world of playing the longest reception. He also has a 50-yarder in here. He's had 10-plus targets in 2 straight games, and we've been focused on all the chaos of, the quarterback play, but 22 targets in 2 straight games. He's had 12 catches. He's got a touchdown. He's gone over 76 yards in both. And the Dolphins, they've kind of been getting waxed a little bit. 3 different wide receiver tight ends have had plays of 20 or more this is last week in general, while the Jets have provided 0 pressure and 0 sacks on Tua in that last game. So there's no pressure. They gave up big plays last week. 2 wide receivers were, 1 yard short of 2 100-yard receivers. They've got a handful of 100-yard receivers given up recently. That secondary is banged up. That team is defeated. Not that this is a great team, but they are just committed to getting Brian Thomas the ball, and they're getting committed to it going deep. 50-yard touchdown catch from Brian Thomas in a big scoring day.
Erickson, you are a fan of Brian Thomas, the player. Are you a fan of him in this matchup?
Yes, I'm a fan of Brian Thomas rest of the way because he's shown over the last 3 weeks that it doesn't matter who his quarterback is. Like, he's going to make plays no matter what. Last 3 games, he's averaging over 81 receiving yards per game. Like, he's just been everything I wanted from him and more this year, even though he's been dealing with quarterback problems. He's been playing on a dysfunctional offense. He's been dealing with some injuries himself, and yet he's found a way to get it done. And currently, he ranks 2nd in receiving yards among rookies. I have I think 17-1 ticket on him to lead all rookie wide receivers in receiving yards.
Ooh.
That maybe it's still live because he's
Who's
second.
won?
Bowers is number 1.
I was about to say, is it Bowers?
But Bowers doesn't have a quarterback anymore. So like,
what's the gap? What's the gap? Come on,
it's like
what's
80 yards. It's 80 yards.
You're gonna get
behind.
this.
So it's 4 weeks left. But also Neighbors is right behind Thomas because he's also played in less games. But Neighbors doesn't have a quarterback either. So it's like, can Mac Jones will his way to get Brian Thomas to the promised land? That's what I'm hoping with, because everyone else I'm looking at, so Bowers, quarterback problem. Thomas obviously is Mac Jones. Neighbors, quarterback problem. And then McConkey is the other receiver. He's also hurt. So they're all in that range. They're all kind of live right now. But yeah, so Brian Thomas, if he can keep up the pace he's been on the last 3 weeks, we could be cooking with gas. So
what do you think, Erickson, about Welsh's pick of a long touchdown in particular?
Yeah, I mean, that's all Brian Thomas has been able to do, right? He's averaging over 15 yards per catch. And it's funny because when you look at him versus some of these other rookie receivers, Bowers and Neighbors both have the only other rookies with, or even Lad McConkey too. These guys have over 800 receiving yards, and they've done it on 80 plus catches. Brian Thomas has 54 catches and he has over 800 receiving yards, 850 receiving yards. So yeah, he's a big play savant, and they're just funneling him targets. And the Jets, yeah, I mean, Sauce Gardner, even though he's hurt, he hasn't been good this year. So you can definitely take advantage of this Jets secondary. So I think, yeah, he's probably going to catch a long touchdown.
I was pulling up this stat while you guys were talking, so I hope you guys didn't share this already. There are 4 players that have 4 catches of 50-plus yards this season. And Brian Thomas is one of them, I will say. Can you guys name the other 3?
I think Jefferson.
Chase.
No.
Chase has 1, right?
Chase.
Chase
That's easy.
has 4. Brian Thomas has 4. So there's one other player with 4 and one with 5.
Wait, I'm sorry. That have 4 50-yard catches?
Yeah, if I misspoke, I'll re-say it. 50-plus yard catches, at least 4 of them. And there are 4 players that have done it.
Jauan Jennings.
Jennings has not.
Wow.
50-plus.
Sneaky.
It's not Tyreek Hill.
I was going to MBS. Please tell me it's not.
So you guys did get the outside of Brian Thomas Jr., which is obvious because we're talking about him. Chase was the obvious one. The other ones, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense once you hear it. You probably won't guess it, so I won't make the listeners listen to you guys flail around and get all these wrong answers. One of them is Jameson Williams.
Okay. And
the other one, the only one with 5, those other 3 have 4. Terry McLaurin. Super fun year.
Yeah.
A lot of big plays from him. Yeah, you can find this information on the advanced wide receiver stats page on FantasyPros.com. But yeah, I was like, Brian Thomas said a few of these. I wanted to look it up, and he literally tied for second most. McLaurin is the only one with more. All right, Erickson, what is your number 3 prediction?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Going back to Detroit, playing in the Dome, more points. Bring it on, because they're playing the Buffalo Bills. So I think that this game is going to shoot out. Again, I was right about this last week, so I'm just going to play the hits here. I don't know what the total is going to end up closing at. I know that it was at 53.5 points the last time I checked. I don't understand why you would bet the under, but people are going to see value on it. I don't care. Taking the over on this game. Average total in the Lions' last 26 home games has been 54 points. So it's right around the average. And now that you're considering the two offenses that are going head to head here, where the Lions are going to actually have to try to score points, same thing with Buffalo. I think that you're going to see a more aggressive Buffalo offense. I know sometimes this year we've seen them like to run the ball. I don't think this is going to be the case this week. Even last week, we just saw it. Hey, when they were down, they had to dial up a much heavier pass approach, and they scored over 40 points. Josh Allen totaled 6 touchdowns. So I think this game is going to be a shootout. And I think that means it's going to be another good game for Amari Cooper. I think Cooper was my flag plant on the start sit show last week, and that ended up being a pretty good call. Even though I was honestly kind of disappointed with his overall game entirely because he had over 250 air yards. He had a 61% target rate per route run, 14 targets overall, and he only had 95. He had 6 catches for 95 yards. So I honestly was kind of disappointed. I was like, dude, this guy could have had a monster game. And instead it was kind of like, okay, a good game for Amari Cooper. Great. So I'm going back to the well, though, with Amari Cooper, because, again, I like the spot here against Detroit. Talked about how Buffalo really dialed up the passing game last week in a shootout. They're going to have to do the same thing again this week. Their pass rate over expectation was plus 11% in week 14. That was the highest since week 7 when they first traded for Amari Cooper. So whenever this offense decides to throw the ball, Amari Cooper is much more involved. I think that's going to be the same case here. So whatever his receiving yards props, probably going to be around like 40 or 50 yards. He's going to go over that because Amari Cooper is the most boom or bust receiver on planet Earth. And if he's going to go over, he's going to go way over. So I like the overs on Cooper again.
Boy, Welsh, Erickson sure is going out on a limb here, taking the over on Bills Lions, the game that everybody just is expecting touchdowns galore.
It's a big number, though. I mean, 50.
It's actually even bigger. It's 55 on DraftKings.
Oh, sorry.
It's a big number.
It's huge.
But how could you take the under?
All you need is an injury, and then you win.
You know what your bet should be? Your bet should be, you should alt line this. You should go to like 59.5 and play plus money.
Dude,
That's
I
what
mean,
be it. Come on.
The Bills Rams
Throw
game,
some.
I remember looking at the live odds. It's so funny when you see the live odds is like 80 points for the total, and then it went over 80.5 points.
Alt line this. Yeah, no marbles. Like get in on this. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, 55 is a huge number, but you cannot go into Bills Lions and take the under. It's just like, it's
not fun, man.
to take the under on this game, even with a number that high. What do you think about Amari Cooper, Welsh?
Yeah, I haven't been into Amari Cooper like Erickson has, but he's getting back involved in the offense, and he stretches the field for them right now. I mean, Shakir is the safety net. There's just no real tight end to speak of in this offense anymore. And Josh Allen's on a thing. The indoor game is going to be ridiculous. I think the running game is where things are going to stop, and he's going to have to sling the ball. I think this is an astute call, especially the betting angle of it. Like, I think Amari Cooper is kind of in the realm for everybody of like wide receiver 3. If you have him on your team, like Amari Cooper versus what, I would be very comfortable with it. But from the betting angle, it probably is going to open up at a kind of low-ish number. So I really like that. And I think if this is going to be just slang, Amari Cooper is going to have to be involved in this because Keon Coleman, God knows where he is right now. So I'm with this call. I'm definitely with this one.
I will say, so regarding the total being like as massive as it is. So you said it's at 55 flat. That's the number it's at?
That's what I'm seeing right now.
Okay, so I'm looking historically. So we've had, since 2003, we've had 30 games close at 55 points. The over is hitting 37% of the time. But how many of those games are played in Coors Field? That's the question.
Like by process, yes, you should bet the under on this
100%.
game. But by emotion and by it's literally Bills Lions, you should bet.
Dude, see, the thing that's going to move it over is, dude, they're playing the Ford Field. Like any other place that is outside, fade it. But the fact it's in the dome, Josh Allen in the dome. See, this is why Buffalo should have built a dome. You want more 6 touchdown games from Josh Allen? Build a dome.
Allen is like a walking, like you're getting at least 4 touchdowns from him lately. feels like. The Lions are, the most fun, aesthetically pleasing offense. Like, it's just, this is, I mean, there's a reason everybody's like, this would make for a great Super Bowl, right? It's a super fun matchup. Welsh, what is your number 3 prediction?
Bo knows. Bo Nix will be the horse king in the Colts versus Broncos matchup, and he's going to turn those Colts into glue. Bo Nix going for 250, 2 touchdowns. Colts are giving up the 6th most passing yards on the year. Bo's thrown for 200 in 6 straight games, 250 plus in 3 straight games, and has 2 or more touchdowns in 4 of 6 games. Side note, yes, Cortland Sutton, really like Vele back into this. I'm probably going to be rebetting Vele in this one, but really this one is about Bo Nix and just how good he has been. So you're going to go into this matchup with probably some big Bo Nix questions as far as like, who do I start? Bo Nix is in that kind of streamy quarterback range where people might have 2 quarterbacks. Do I do this or this? I really like Bo Nix this week. And maybe I'm setting the line. Like if I wanted to be bold, if we were saying this is going to be a bold one, I would probably go 303 touchdowns, but safety play 250, 2 touchdowns. And like I said, he's the horse king. Hey,
Erickson, Bo Nix is QB 10. Is that too high, too low, or just right for our early ECR?
No, I like it. The Colts are a good matchup coming off the bye week. Colts are coming off the bye week too, but I like Denver playing at home. And I guess I'm curious. So, Welsh, you said you mentioned Vele because we know Sutton's probably going to get it done. 250 yards, obviously a lot. So, if anything, like is Troy Franklin ever going to catch a deep pass from Bo Nix? Like, I watched them play every
throw one every game.
It's like, did these guys actually play at Oregon together? Like, or was I just imagining that? Because it looks like they have no chemistry whatsoever, despite the fact that they were teammates at the college level. So, yes, I think finally this is the week where Troy Franklin actually catches a deep target from Bo Nix and then ultimately helps get you to this number. So, hand holding with you, Welsh, on Bo Nix, get it done.
I like the logic of this.
King.
Yeah, give me a nay. No, give me one. Do one more. No. All right, Worm, can I get a nay?
I don't do the nay, but I will do you do the.
You guys stink.
You're in the.
Now you have to nay after. And you're in.
I can't nay.
You should. One thing I'll point out that is super annoying about the Broncos, I've noticed, is they do similar to what the Packers do.
Don't talk about their backfield, please.
No, it's not the backfield. That's why I love Bo Nix even more. They can't run. It's not even an established thing. But what they run these rotations, and I hate these wide receiver rotations that go out there. The Packers do it. It's like, it's only Watson and Wicks, and you never have anybody else. They'll do that where like Vele doesn't come out, and they'll run like 5 different wide receivers in these mixes. So that's where I shy away from like being too crazy with guys like Franklin or Vele, because you point out like, why can't we get these guys rolling? It's like, who knows, because of the rotation. Sutton's the only constant on that. But yes, Bo Nix is good. Very disappointed in your nay. Did like your clickety clacks though, yes. Worm. Those are pretty good clickety clacks.
Part of me dies a little bit inside every time I see little Jordan Humphrey start games.
Yeah, he's out there and you're just like, why? What are we doing?
What? Josh Reynolds is finally not on the team anymore. So at least, hey, maybe his spot's opened up. Troy Franklin, come on, man. Oregon's in the number 1 seed, right, in the college football playoff. Like, come on, Oregon vibes are good right now. Let's get the connection going.
You know what? That might be a thing we could hold on to. Oregon vibes are good.
Go Ducks.
Growing up, basketball was never near the top of my list of favorite sports. I always preferred baseball and then football as I got older. But once I was in college at Maryland, I completely fell in love with the atmosphere at college basketball games. The energy, the passion, the noise, the chills. There's no fan experience in the world quite like a high-level college hoops game. I still remember storming the court in my final game as a student senior year against UVA. And now that I'm well past my days as a student, when I need basketball tickets, I turn to Game Time. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. The list of my favorite features on the Game Time app is too long to read everything, but here are some standouts for me personally. I love the Game Time Picks curation, obviously, especially since I can use it for not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and more. I also love the all-in pricing, so there are no surprise fees at checkout. There's nothing in the world more infuriating to me than thinking I know what I'm about to spend on a purchase, then getting hit with a surprise fee at the last second. That doesn't happen with Game Time. Plus, I also appreciate the seat views to get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you commit to buying. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code FantasyPros for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FANTASYPROS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Erickson, what is your number 2 prediction?
Patriots Cardinals is going to be a shootout in the desert. The Patriots games, because the defense is so bad, because Drake May is fun, have been leaning towards going over the total more often than not. So I think we're going to get some offensive production here from both sides. Specifically, Trey McBride is going to catch a receiving touchdown this week. I know.
No.
Crazy. It's because if it doesn't happen this week, it's happening next week because they're playing the Panthers. So one of these weeks, Trey McBride, so I'm getting ahead of it now because it'll be the talk of the town next week because he's playing the Panthers. They allow the most touchdowns to tight ends. Well, you know who is the worst defense in terms of EPA per target, 2 targets aligned tight in the formation? It's my New England Patriots. Dead last in EPA per target allowed to pass catchers aligned tight this season. You look at just the schematic matchup, right? Number 1 wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. Who's going to be covering him? The only good player on the Patriots defense, Christian Gonzalez. I think Trey McBride is going to absolutely eat in this specific matchup. He's seen so many targets over the last couple of weeks. 2 red zone targets last week. He has 16 red zone targets on the year. Again, 0 receiving touchdowns. Regression is coming, and it's going to come against the New England Patriots. So Trey McBride is going to score a receiving touchdown. I would not surprise me if he scores multiple touchdowns, but it's either this week or next week where he's going to have a kaboom game when it comes to scoring. I'm just trying to get ahead of it a little bit. And if he doesn't, I'm going to come back next week and say the exact same thing for Trey McBride scoring a receiving touchdown. So
we've talked a bit about this off air. How many touchdowns are you going to predict he scores next week if he doesn't?
That's what I'd say. I'm disappointed you even brought this up because
No,
if he doesn't score this week, Erickson, tell everybody what you told us or me or whatever it was of how many of what you're going to bet next week.
This is whatever 3 touchdowns for Trey McBride, whatever type of payout you can get. Dude, I bet money on Kyle Pitts to score a touchdown last week. You don't think I'll bet Trey McBride to score multiple touchdowns? Come on.
Well, multiple is one thing. You told us you were going to bet 3 touchdowns.
3?
Oh, dude, I'll do like a ladder touchdown bet, however that works.
You told us specifically that you were going to bet your house on 3 touchdowns.
Well,
You did.
I can't bet what I don't have.
Don't be a
have
liar.
currently right now.
Then just bet your paycheck.
Yeah. Bet your Christmas bonus. Patriots Cardinals is 46 is the total. So maybe a little higher than you might have thought thinking about the Patriots, but you make a good point, Erickson, given the way the defense is playing and the way Drake May is playing. Knowing that number, do you like the over?
Yes, I do.
Welsh, what do you think? Both on this being a shootout and on Trey McBride finally scoring a receiving touchdown.
I don't think Cardinals and Patriots scream shootout to me, just even in my simplest of brains. But I almost put Drake May on this as a play to like really explode. I'm just I live in Arizona. I'm very anti-Cardinal. I think Marvin Harrison is laughably not good right now. I love the Trey McBride call. Kyler Murray, this defense is probably going to allow him to not make some of the mistakes that he always does. So I could see where this could go over, but I'm not in love with the over. I like Drake May. I really do like the McBride stuff. I'm probably going to be tempted to play the touchdown. I don't know if I will. They're probably going to still give us some stupid line, like 125. And it's like, dude doesn't score it all year. Give me 2-1. If they do that, I will hit it. But I'm probably going to play the receptions and the receiving yards for McBride because he is probably the play to go. If you were like picking across, like what's the thing you can count on? I think the only thing you can really count on that you would trust, especially from a betting angle, is McBride. So I'm going to completely tail this McBride stuff. The touchdown, we'll see. We'll see what the odds are given to us.
Welsh, what's your number 2 prediction?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, gold-blooded. We are going to go to the San Francisco 49ers. I want to show this, and I'm going to send this to our guys just so they have a better graphic here. You would think the bet is going to be Jauan Jennings, which, by the way, I am now known as the Jauan Jennings soothsayer. There's this great feature on the app on Betting Pros, which, by the way, you can go get a free month of premium FP free. If you go and do that right now, download the app. You can follow all of us. I just happened upon this, and I just want you to show this shows your number 1 performing bet of what you've done in the last year. Erickson, can you tell me what that bet is right there?
I'm just to guess it has something to do with Jauan Jennings. Yeah, there you go. Jauan Jennings
receiving yards.
5-0.
My number one bet over the last year, 100% hit rate is Jauan Jennings receiving yards. So I am the soothsayer. I do love it, and I have already bet it. But let's get it all here. Oh, yeah, it is actually, because I was going to go a Brock Purdy side. So it is adding Jauan Jennings in with Puka Nacua. I love the over on Thursday Night Football with the Rams and the 49ers. Jauan Jennings and Puka combine for 250 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns between the two. Rams are giving up the 8th most touchdowns to wide receivers over the last month and the 10th most receiving yards. By the way, the last matchup, Jauan Jennings against the Rams, 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Puka has gone over 100 yards in 3 of his last 4 games, and the Niners have given up 4 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers over the last 3 games. He was not active, nor was Kupp in the last game. Niners secondary is just still a problem. The Niners are working on much better ground right now. I think they're going to be trading some big offensive plays. The 49ers are down another running back. God knows what this is going to look like. I mean, maybe Grindo plays. I don't think so. Patrick Taylor, maybe Debo's in the back. They're going to have to throw the ball. The Rams are going to try to establish some run. If the Niners are efficient, they're going to be throwing the ball. So Puka and Jennings combined 250, 2 touchdowns is the official. I have 100% already bet Jauan Jennings over receiving yards. I did it last night, so I do love that play as well.
Erickson Jennings, wide receiver 19 in early ECR. Puka obviously up there. He's wide receiver 3. Do you like this one?
Yeah, I love this one. Who am I to go against the Jauan Jennings soothsayer and say that he's incorrect about Jauan Jennings? And to add confidence to this, I've already bet this as well. Jauan Jennings, in the forecast, what I'm doing now, because all the trade deadlines have passed, I put in some of these early prize picks lines, and I just got jumped all over these 49ers because they were all way too low. Like Brock Purdy, more than his passing yards. It's already going up as I'm seeing as I'm refreshing, because it was just way too low of a number because he's cooking now. Again, he had those 2 bad weeks, the snowy game, he was injured, but he's got his toys back. I think that he's going to be going more than his passing yards. And if that's happening, I mean, Jauan Jennings is going to be along for the ride. So even if Jennings receiving yards prop looks like it's big, just look at every time he's gone over. It's similar to like Ayuk, where when he goes over, he's going 90 plus yards. So yeah, I think the fact that he destroyed the Rams earlier this season makes a ton of sense. And Puka Nacua, man, he played one of the best games I've ever seen by a wide receiver last week. I was just, I mean, and I was thinking, going back to that team that's being saved by Puka Nacua, I'm like, this is why this team is in the playoffs now, because of this man making it his mission to get me to the fantasy postseason. So shout out to Puka Nacua.
I might run the first ladder receiving yard parlay that I've ever done in my life. And I might parlay 50-50 for Puka and Jennings, 60-60 for Puka and Jennings, 70-70, and I might push it up to 100, and I'm play those 2 bad boys together and go ballistic. Also want to point out, I have another bet, a 49er bet, that has 100% tail rate when, as I saw it before this. That is only on Betting Pros app. So if you guys want to see what it is not the Jauan Jennings ones. I've told you that, but there's another bet. It's my best bet for that Thursday game. It's already up there. You can only get it on the Betting Pros app. So go and check that out. But Erickson, can I at all interest you in a wide receiver receiving yard parlay ladder? Can I get you to come with me at all?
If you can get D-Bro to sign off, because he's the Puka Nacua soothsayer.
Okay, so I'm going to get him on it.
If I get the 2 soothsayers to sign off.
All right, I'm going to hit him up, and we're going to parlay that together. Can we also just for 1 second laugh together about the Deebo Samuel tweet where Deebo yesterday or this morning or whatever it was decided to tell everybody, it's not me. I'm not struggling. He is Tim Robinson. I'm not worried about it. He's saying I'm not struggling, and then he got community noted that no, yes, you are. You are actually, you have the most drops on the team. You are struggling. Accountability is the only thing he is getting separation from this year. It's crazy.
Tim Robinson is so amazing that when you first said that, I was like, there's like 8 different memes I thought you could be going in that direction.
All of them work. All of them work. I'm giving you guys on social some ideas. Just put Deebo with some Tim Robinson meme and it's going to work.
We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Yeah,
or
100%.
Or the reel where he's like, what? When they say he drops passes, it's all of them. That's great.
All of them work. All of them work.
Yeah, that's a great bit too. The only separation he's getting is from his accepting responsibility. Erickson, prediction number 1. What do you got?
Number 1 prediction here: the Panthers are going to win for the first time, not the season because they've won games, but for the first time as a favored team in the Bryce Young era. Bryce Young, 2 years in the NFL, has never been a favorite ever. The sportsbooks have never thought that he could win a game.
I'm not that surprised to hear that. When would he have been a favorite?
Exactly.
Well,
but
I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's never been a favorite ever, but he's been obviously playing much better over the last couple of weeks. I think that's very well known at this point. Coming so close over the last couple of weeks against teams that they probably had no business competing against: the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, look, that guy should be moving. He needs to put a poster of Xavier Leggett in his basement.
Oh, the $3 million guy?
Yeah. He needs to honor Xavier Leggett for the drop that he had, because if he catches that ball, man, Panthers are going to win that game. So, that being said, I think that the Panthers win. I think that Leggett bounces back here. Obviously, he's a young player. Last week was a performance to forget for him, citing the drop that he had on the potential touchdown. But before that, he did set up the Panthers really well on a key conversion on a long play. So for me, and the reason I was watching this is because I was all over the Bryce Young unders in terms of his passing yard. So it actually helped me that Leggett actually dropped the pass too.
I bet it too, yeah.
I will also have a poster of Leggett somewhere in my basement in my future home that I do not have.
They're going to mortgage.
That you will then bet on 3 touchdowns.
On Trey McBride. Touchdown.
On Trey McBride. So I do like Leggett in this spot here against Dallas. Dallas coming off a short week. Dallas dealing with a couple of injuries on the offensive and defensive sides. So yeah, I like the Panthers here. And the fact that Leggett, last week, the usage was still really great for him. He had 10 targets, 24% target share, over 128 air yards. I get that he's been kind of up and down, inconsistent, but this is what we see from rookies a lot of the time. They're incomplete products. And the fact that we saw Bryce Young kind of bounce back after, his slow start to the year, I think that the team's going to rally around Leggett here. I think that he's going to have a big game. So I like the overs on his receiving yards, because he can go over 40 receiving yards, which is probably what his line is going to be. He has 39 plus yards in 4 straight games, 6 plus targets in 3 straight games. So I think Leggett's going to bounce back here and help get the Panthers their first win as favorites in the Bryce Young era.
Welsh, you also have a prediction for your number 1 in regards to the Panthers.
Yeah, I like this. I'm going to tail this, and it will be also because of Chuba the Great. Chuba is going to go off on the Cowboys. I see 150 combined yards and is a top 5 RB this week. Cowboys have given up 16 touchdowns to running backs on the year, 50 plus receiving yards in 3 of the last 6 games. Chuba's got 26 or more carries in 2 of the last 4 games. And why does that matter? Because the 2 he didn't, Brooks was back. We all know that Brooks is out now. So this is just Chuba. Chuba is going to be the force. They're also not laying on their backs and having their bellies rubbed. Like, they want to win games. They want to take these games away from these big teams. This is the opportunity. And like you said, I think that is something they're going to scoreboard watch. The first time they are a favorite ever, they are going to give Chuba 20 plus carries. He's going to be out of the backfield as well. You can do this against the the Cowboys. You can definitely pass on running backs. Last couple weeks, they've held teams a little bit down on the running side, but it's also because you can throw against this team. But they have given up some big running back performances as well. I really love Chuba in this matchup. There's some, back-to-back dicey of Kansas City and Philly and fading. And I think, I don't know if I told Erickson this, I was glad in my big FFPC championship, which is the high stakes stuff, FantasyPros online championship. I got obliterated in the championship. And you know why I'm okay with it? Because I'm a dumb, stupid idiot. And I last second took Chuba out this week in favor of Pacheco. I talked myself out of it.
You can't tinker, Welsh.
I did it, and I did it 5 minutes before luck. And you know what? Had I lost by 10 points, I wouldn't be here right now. I couldn't do it. So I'm just glad I got blown out.
Welsh is down in the dumps.
I would be in some gutter somewhere. I got Josh Allen and Addison, so that's okay. But the whole point of that is Chuba has performed really well in these bad matchups. This is a great matchup. There's no Brooks. He's going off. Chuba's going ballistic this week. Love him for week 15.
So we're all over the Panthers, it sounds like. I want to pull up. Do you know what the line is in that game?
2. At least that's
It's
the last
2.
time I checked. It was 2.
Okay.
I
It
wasn't
was
sure.
1.5 last night. I saw.
Wasn't
but-
sure if Dallas, because Dallas came close. I mean, last night to beating Cincy, I thought maybe they get some love, but no. Everyone's on the Panthers bandwagon, which does somewhat scare me. But actually, before we sign off, guys, I wanted to ask. So Brooks, right? So like, is he going to miss all next season too? Like, when is he actually going to be valuable for fantasy?
I don't know what they're gonna do, but like after this, how can you rush him? Like you should just sit him for a full season.
I mean, so I guess like this is like a dynasty. Again, this isn't a dynasty, but I want to talk about it because I think it's important with Jonathan Brooks. Like when is his value actually going to be real? Like 2027, like
midway through 26, because Chuba signed a 3-year deal, which canceled this year, and then he's got 2 more years after this, if I'm doing this correctly. So that means Brooks returns in the walk year for Chuba, and they'll probably baby him into some capacity. So it's probably halfway. So the time to buy him is going to be probably about 10 to 12 months, and then where he really like gives you production, it's probably like 18 months away from right now. It's a brutal, and also that's inheriting the risk that he does it again, because apparently this is all he does. So it's pretty brutal. These are career things.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for a super young. The thing is, like, works in his favor that he is really young, so like that does help him. He doesn't have like this like massive workload, because again, he was like a 1-year starter, but then he immediately got hurt, and he got hurt again. So I don't have Brooks. Do you guys have Brooks on any dynasty teams? Like, are you just like, would you just like want to sell? Like, would you want to sell like right now? Like, just like, hey, I just want to get out now, like not deal with it? Or
I've got him on 1. It was a league where I had 4 I had 4 first-round picks this past rookie draft, so he was one of them. But it was like he was, what I went all in on. I had multiple picks, thankfully. I think that you have to hold. Like nobody's going to give you anything of value because you're skipping out an entire year next year, and there's a question mark about just what the role will be when he even comes back. Can he maintain the workload when he comes back? Like it's really, really sad. And you feel for a guy who worked so hard to come back this season, even for a team that isn't going anywhere. Like that speaks to his, that speaks to his character. Like I want nothing for the best for him, but it might be like borderline over in dynasty.
Would you take, I don't mean to cut you off. I just thought of an interesting, what did you take if someone offered you Audric Estime for Jonathan Brooks? What would you do?
I think I'd probably. I do love it. I love Estime.
Estime's gonna be the starter next year. Like those guys are free agents. Like
you think
Javante's gone. Javante's gone. There's no way he's coming back.
You think they look at that backfield and they're like, "We're good"? I don't think so.
If Estime was on any other team, I might consider him. I just don't trust Sean Payton to like stick with a running back.
I think the bigger question is to buy Jonathan Brooks. Like you're kind of getting to. I don't think it's about like, do I hold? Do I? No, I think it's like, do you have the wherewithal to go and buy Jonathan Brooks right now? And what are you willing to give up? And like, does the injury scare you enough? Because what Jonathan Brooks' value 6 months ago would have been probably top 15 RB. Someone would have like wanted him at like a top 15 RB with the future side. Now, what are you willing to give up? Because I think that's outside the top 30.
I mean, I might give up like a 3rd round rookie pick, like a late 3rd round. But like, I just don't. I don't know how you can give.
Yeah, no one's.
I don't think you can give up a pick in the top 25, even in a down rookie class, because you just don't. I mean, it's too uncertain, and you're not even going to get certainty for another 2 years from now. Like, I mean, again, we're talking about 2026, guys. It's 2024 right now. We're talking 2026, like midway through is when we might. Like, I don't think you could give up anything of value. That's why I think he's a hold. Like, I don't want to just dump him and take that loss right away. I'd rather just sit him on IR and hope for a miracle. But again, like I said, it might be over. Honestly,
that's the thing. It's like you have to hit on. I feel like this is like a 5-leg parlay for you to hit on Jonathan Brooks in 2026, because like he then has to like be good still coming off another. Or again, we've barely seen him play at the NFL level, and again he had a very limited sample size in college, and so there are so many things that have to go right for him. When again, are the Panthers good? Like we don't know. Like who's going to be the coach? Like who's going to be the quarterback? Like we don't know. And maybe it's just if you have Brooks, get Chuba, right? So you can at least get some production in the short term.
Chuba looks like a pretty strong asset though now.
Everyone's like trying to sell Chuba. We were trying to sell Chuba, and it's like, nah, man, this guy's not going away. He's staying. But good for Chuba Hubbard.
He's a good player and has a wide open runway here, and offense is getting better with Bryce Young playing better. So yeah, Chuba looks pretty good right now. All right, we'll wrap up there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully, we do pretty well in our predictions here for Welsh and Erickson. I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next time.